Durdle Magic. Thank you for tuning in to Durdle Magic. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell if you like the content you see here today, and leave a like and share the video with someone you might think is interested. Leaving those likes really helps us out, but another way to help us out is by using our TCG Player affiliate link below. If you're looking for singles, sealed product, or gaming accessories, please consider using our link to support the channel. We also have some playmats at inkgaming.com. Go ahead and hit the link in the description to check those out. Alright, let's grab some spells and durdle with some magic. Hello and welcome back to Durdle Magic. Today I just wanted to do a follow-up video on my previous video for the Secret Lair, The Walking Dead, and the RC's decision on it and the article they posted. And I want to get your thoughts on it if you could leave those in the comments below. So, the long story, shortened, is they decided not to ban the Walking Dead cards from Commander, and they go on with 3 points to explain why. And I want to go over one other point that they touched on a little bit, that it didn't really, it just kind of tied into the first point. So we're going to go a little bit around here. So let's get started. So the first point they talk about is the card availability, and that was a big sticking point for a lot of the community. It was a big sticking point for me, the exclusivity of the product. And the point I was alluding to earlier was the mechanical uniqueness, and they touch on that here as well. I felt like they could have touched on it a little bit more, but let's be honest, there's not too much to say about it. I do feel that these cards do need a reprint of some, quote-unquote magical kind in the future. But basically what the article said was that while they understand people are concerned about such the limited availability, and this is verbatim from the article, by the way, we don't believe that the problem applies to Commander in the same way it does to tournament formats. And they go on to say that, usually you need 4 of one kind of card to be viable in a tournament format, whereas in Commander you only need 1. So the availability isn't at the same problem versus like Vintage and Legacy, which was stated in the article for the release of these. But other than that, they also go on to state that Commander has, thousands of cards available to it, and not everybody has all these cards. I know I don't. I've actually, when I was younger, did a stupid thing and threw out my first collection. Dumb that I was. Now I just hold on to everything I can get my hands on just in case I need it for Commander, basically. So they are right there. I mean, there's a lot of us, especially newer players, who don't have things like all the way back from ABU, much less like Urza Sagas, Tempest, Weatherlight, stuff like that. Tempest is the best old set in my opinion, at least from my perspective, by the way. So yeah, they go on to do that, and I generally agree with that statement. If you want to get your hands on one of these eventually, I guess there is that. I still disagree with like the window and things, and I still very much disagree with the mechanical uniqueness. I'm still very much for a quote-unquote magical printing of these cards. The second point they go on to address is a non-magic IP. Now, I've said a lot of times on different posts around different YouTube channels, around different forums, threads, various things, that I myself asked my playgroup to play Nightmare Moon because, I'll be honest, my child used to watch My Little Pony. I thought it was a well done show, straight up. And it reminded me of people in good times and stuff like that, and I wanted to build it. Didn't quite work out, but I had the permission and had that discussion with my playgroup. Now, having a non-IP in Magic, I think with this one in particular was the fact that it's so closer to being like a real world thing, even though we're not currently living in a zombie apocalypse, comparisons aside, that it kind of broke that immersion. And I have some now first-person experience with that immersion breaking. I faced a Rick Steadfast leader over my testing period for Kazaa, and it totally broke my immersion. I even got a little salty over it. No, I did not grief the player. This is a personal thing for me. I'm not gonna sit there and say shame on you or anything. But they did address that in one paragraph, and they say basically it will be more inclusive of people who like something else and maybe bring them into Magic. New players are always good. So I guess this is something where we just have to see where it goes. The last point they mention is about Negan, and I had heard this come up in a few different threads, forums, and what have you, about Negan as a character and his character and his humanity or lack thereof in the show. I will be honest with you, I've watched maybe 2 hours of The Walking Dead entirely in my life, It really turned me off. There's a lot of gore and stuff. I know that's kind of the immersion with the zombie apocalypse and all that stuff, but I'm not into like overly bloody and gory things myself. In either case, for me personally, this was not something I was upset about. Nicobolas has enslaved, destroyed, eaten people. You know, he's really bad if you go back in the lore. Nicobolas is probably a lot worse than Negan. Negan at least can't walk between worlds and blow them up. So, to me, this wasn't a thing, but I totally understand where other people are coming from. He's, you know, he's a terrible person. You know, just, he's ridiculous. So, they did address that, and they basically made that comparison to Nicobolas and other things, saying that this isn't, you know, worthy of a ban. Otherwise, you know, why not ban every Nicobolas card ever, everything that mentions Nicobolas and stuff like that. So I generally agree with that statement too, but again, that wasn't a personal pet peeve of mine. They go on to reiterate that they have talked to Wizards. They did mention that earlier in the article, to voice their concerns, add their voice to ours, and they also thanked us for our input, and that's how the article concluded. So, my general thoughts on it are as follows. Overall, even though I agreed with the bans initially, if they do have this kind of clout with Wizards, or at least these contacts that can quote-unquote join their voice to ours, I'm okay with this decision for the time being. If the banning cards does tend to exclude people, so there's the same argument there, and especially if they can be commanders. I still feel like they're very immersion breaking cards. As I've said earlier, I experienced already a game with Rick. Just saying that when I was trying to narrate really just put me off. There wasn't anything magical there. It was some guy who cares about humans, which would be generally great in regular Magic, but I don't know. To me, it's just awkward and weird. So, yeah, that's the decision by the RC. I'm okay with it. I know some people aren't going to be, but let me know what your comments and thoughts are down below. Comment, tell me what you think. Tell me, you know, what you expect for the future, perhaps. Because, let's be frank, this is probably going to happen again. If they could at least maybe choose a more magical IP, but I don't think that's what's going to happen here. And those are my thoughts on the matter. So, until we can Durdle with some Magic again, and I hope you all are able to do some, playing some Magic. A little bit here, a little bit there. Please do it safely. Until the next time you can come here and Durdle with me, I'll see you then.